down like in the cities where I grew up, I like to go to the Latin Mass at the parish I grew up in because everyone just notices Michael Matt there. I fly under the
Yeah,
radar there too.
he's the
Yeah.
bigger celebrity. Yeah, next time I see Kevin James, I'm gonna go. I don't know if you know this, but I'm the celebrity at this parish, so I'm kind of a big deal here. I think maybe you need to recognize there's not room for two celebrities at this parish, Kevin. So all right, so Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius. So Rob, can you bring up the Sator Square? Sator, the Sator Square. So I was watching this documentary on Pompeii, and they're unearthing Pompeii, and the more they unearth, the more they're seeing how Christianity was already in Pompeii, and Pompeii gets destroyed in 79 AD. And they're finding it's not like it's still a pagan city, but what they're finding is Christian graffiti in the slave quarters. They're finding things like the Sator Square. Now, if anybody doesn't know what the Sator Square is, it's a 5-word Latin palindrome, which means you read a word one way and the other, and it's the same word. So if you look right down the middle, you see tenet,
Sator,
up and down.
Arepo, tenet, opera.
And whether they're spelled the same way or backwards. So it's sometimes called a Rotas Square or a Sator Square, but it's a 5-word palindrome, and it was one of the earliest Christian symbols. And they found these in Pompeii. It's also all the letters for the Pater Noster. So those letters spell out the Pater Noster, and it's got the tenet right in the middle where it's the symbol of the cross. And I watched this documentary on the destruction of the temple, and after the temple gets destroyed, you get like Christianity. The early Christians were just Jews. They were like, it was like Judaism splits in half. It's a schism that happens, and you have basically half of them or more become Christian, and the other half go into rabbinic Judaism, which is really Phariseeism and zealotry. Like the zealots and the Pharisees are what continues on. Now, after the destruction of the temple, I think Christians really solidified this idea of a Eucharistic kingdom, that the body of Christ is the new temple, where I know they knew it before that, but it takes time for something to really settle in and develop. Now, when the temple is destroyed, thousands upon thousands of Jewish slaves are taken, brought into Pompeii, plus tons of Christians are in Pompeii living as slaves, because slavery is where Christianity really catches on early on. Now, these slaves warning their masters, you destroyed God's house. Like you people, your pagan ways, you're living in these filthy ways, all of your idolatry, it's all going to come. When Mount Vesuvius erupts and destroys Pompeii, I think it lights a fire on the Christian message, because they all think the world is going to end. Like these Christian preachers are preaching the end of days, the second coming, like Christ is going to return. We're in the end times now, this and that. And then all of a sudden Vesuvius erupts, Pompeii is completely destroyed, and you just see Christianity lights the earth on fire. It's one of the coolest periods in history. It's before the canon is developed. It's the way Christianity spreads. Especially in the book of Acts, Paul goes and just lays his hands on someone. And when he lays his hands on someone, it's almost like this divine connection where they get the gift of prophecy. Like how does the Catholic faith stay intact before there's canon law, before there's even a biblical canon yet? It's this miraculous event that happens, that wherever Paul goes and lays his hands on somebody and they become a bishop, it's like their orthodoxy is just divinely given to them. And that's how the church doesn't become this broken Protestant nonsense that you see nowadays. It's this unbelievably, it's just no other way to describe it, but miraculous, just the way the church spreads and stays as a cohesive church, even despite the heresies that keep popping up.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, so theologians, before they begin training in dogmatic theology, like studying God and all of that, they study what's called fundamental theology. And it's basically just saying, how do we know that God even gives divine revelation or a magisterium to mankind? Is there a way that we can know this like with reason and faith together? And the answer to this is yes. And what they say in this is that why we know the Catholic faith is the truth faith is because look at the way that it spread under great persecution so fast. It retained its message. It had great abundances of miracles, prophecies, healings, all of that. And then the testimony of the martyrs, people were dying. But then also, and this is what they say is one of their greatest proofs, their people's lives were changed when
Yeah.
they were moral miracles. They changed whenever they became Catholic. And you see this happen for 300 years before the legalization of Christianity, finally, and then the Council of Nicaea and stuff like that. And I think that those all are witnesses to the reality that like God does move and preserve faith in the midst of great insanity, which is what he's doing now, of course.
Rob, who's the emperor in 79 AD? Is it Titus?
No, I don't think so.
Side note, Rob, I found out Rob
Yes,
is a
you're right.
It's Titus, right?
Flavius.
So Titus is this guy who's got these, like he's said to have taken
Who was he was an emperor at the time, but he was the general who conquered Jerusalem
temple.
and tore down the
So
temple.
he tears down the temple. He's hearing from all these Jews how God's going to strike him with punishment. I mean, they desecrated this temple, and it's all that. Like you have to realize the God of I'm sorry, guys, bear with me. The God of Israel was feared amongst the pagans, even in the there was always these miraculous events with the God of Israel. Then they go and destroy his house. Now Titus has all these fears of burning. He's said to have taken ice baths constantly, and then all of a sudden he sees Pompeii is destroyed by fire. It's just all the things that happen in that first century it's just the coming together of the Greek mind with philosophy, the Roman way of organization, right? Like Romans come in and they have the Roman road system, and they know how to, when they conquer the Greeks, they don't force the Greeks to stop being Greek. They allow them to remain Greek.
Do you know how Titus died?
How?
Fever. He burned
died of a fever. Dude, I'm telling you, he believed he was dying of divine punishment for destroying God's house. And these things all coalesce in this ancient world where now the Roman road system's in place, and they're able to go and spread the gospel throughout the entire known world. You have, this philosophical mind that the Greek comes up with, where they're trying to figure out what logos is. Like, what is logos? What is the thing that connects everything and makes all things work with reason? Because they understand that everything works with reason. It's a very deep thing that they're figuring out. And then all of a sudden John comes out with, in the beginning was the logos, and it's just this great confluence of things that come together for the faith to just spread upon the earth, man. And that's why studying this stuff is so healthy for my faith, because it can seem in the modern times like this stuff, look at what's happening in the church. Everything's just falling apart. But when you understand that what we're going through right now is actually still part of the story, we're living in the story right now, and we're in the middle of some very important event in that story, and we're just waiting to see how it plays out in God's time.
Yeah, it's a chapter in the storybook, and that's what people have to remember, because you're right. People either are just going to become really black-pilled or leave the faith or something like that, or they're going to just let their faith become kind of static and dry. It's like, again, not to bash fellow content creators, but if all the Catholic faith is for you is watching what the latest update on the synod is and this or that nonsense, you're missing out.
No, that's why, honestly, that's why I love these conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the conversations I actually want to have. You got to do those stupid, God, I hate the stupid clickbait stuff. You guys have to know the struggle that goes through, because I have to freaking plan these stupid shows, and you want them to freaking grow. And it's like Rob really does allow me to have most of the creative, okay, what do you want to talk? Because he knows I'm just going to run my mouth the whole episode anyway. So, I mean, not that Rob doesn't have creative input. He definitely does. But
But it
kinda-
gets overruled all the time. So why
a
try?
lot, yeah. Because, well, especially like I kind of have this fire lit back up in me right now in the past week or two, where like I'm diving back into things and kind of getting excited about the faith again, and I know that translates to the audience. Like I know it does, because it's stuff that I'm interested in, and I'm not that weird, you know. It's, I think most of us want to be excited about the faith again, and sometimes you have to go into the past to remember how amazing it is what we believe.
Exactly. It's like we've talked about before. Ideally, when Pope Francis passes away, God rest his soul, we'll just have a good pope and we can just go on talking about the faith itself,
Faith, yeah,
as opposed to talking about what nonsense is going on. And people think that like I don't like talking about Catholic drama. But like it's
Mhm.
like, is it necessary at times? Yes, but it's not something that you like to do.
yeah.
But obviously, if we're wanting to, and I'm not to derail you, but we can always take Sean's suggestion if we're wanting controversial and good